My story begins in the small country of Bhutan, where my parents and grandparents lived under the monarchy of a horrible king. As my mother tells me, the king was very brutal to my people. As people who immigrated from Nepal to Bhutan to have a better life, for the previous king said to my grandparents he would do well by them. It was a lie. Everything was a lie. My grandparents and uncles were beaten and had to work in coal mines where their income was almost nothing. The king's hatred for my people grew and grew so much that he ordered them to leave the country or else he would hunt them down and kill them. He made my grandfather sign a document saying they left on their own free will. He gave them money for their property, but he forced them into saying they willingly left. And they were happy. As soon as the documents were signed, he snatched the money back and continued the process with another scared, powerless, weak Nepali family all over again. My parents lived in Nepal for 17 years. Fun fact, they only knew each other for less than a week before they got married. They're still somehow married. I, however, only lived for 5 years, so I did not receive the full throttle of pain and suffering as my parents and grandparents did. I do not remember much from Nepal, but I remember two specific things very clearly. One involves a fire, and the next, a needle. There was a fire in our neighbor's house, and because of our horrid living situation and the house was being made of bamboo, it caught on fire rather quickly. Since the roads were so bad, it took the firefighters a long time to get there, and we all lived so close by. We shared the same suffering of the refugee camps. The adults decided to help. They began to climb our house alongside our neighbors, and they decided to throw jugs of water in hopes that it could help as much as it could. As a 5-year-old boy, I wanted to help. I somehow climbed the ladder and got on the roof. As I threw the jug, I fell. Before losing consciousness, I remember my mother running to me, holding me, and I could feel her tears dripping down my face. The doctor said it was by the grace of God that I was alive, and even more that I had sustained such little damage. The second thing I remember clearly involves a needle. Our family had finished the preparations for International Organization for Migration, the group which gave us this great opportunity to come to this great nation. All that was needed was the vaccination. And I remember this so clearly because the shot hurt like hell. I began to soak my shirt with tears, but I was happy. We did it. We made it. We were coming. We made it into the United States. The first few years in America were the roughest I've ever experienced in my life. A new country, new people, new language, culture, food, everything was different. I remember my mother and I going to the public market and being able to buy nothing. How could we? We didn't look like the sellers. We couldn't talk to them. And most of the food we've never seen in our lives before. Made us feel so out of place, but so different. Every day was a struggle, especially for my parents. Having to bathe, feed my sister and I, all were very tedious and laborious. The technologies were different too. I remember not showering for days because we didn't know how to use it. In Nepal, we'd shower by throwing little cups of water and that'd be it. In Nepal, if we had to go, we'd go behind a bush or something. There were months where we had nothing, and all we lived off of was food stamps. My favorite days were Thursdays. From 5 to 6, we would go to the Greek Orthodox Church, where they held a tutoring program. And I got to spend time with people that I knew, I could communicate with, people who actually cared. I remember one day, everyone, my father, sister, and I, we were all worried sick. My mother went to school at Oasis, the family learning center, and her classes ended at 3. My mother came home at 7 that day, holding back tears, trying to be structured in front of her children. She told us with teary eyes she could not get home. It was her first day of school and the classes had ended. How was she going to get home? She knew nothing. She couldn't even say, I'm lost, or I can't speak English. She didn't know English. She didn't have any transportation. No friends. Thank God there were other students who had later classes and spoke our language. She held my sister and I, and everything was silent. I started crying. My sister started crying. And my father, trying to show his masculinity, he just had teary eyes. We had nothing, but we had each other. And for the time being, it was all we needed in this world. The love that the 4 of us shared for each other. It was enough. Life started getting better in 6th grade, but it was also my darkest year. My mother got a tutor who helped her with so much, like learning English, and most importantly, becoming an American citizen. Through her help, we are American citizens today. I also got a tutor who was amazing, who changed my life for the better, someone I will forever be grateful for. But in 6th grade, I got bullied. Every day, I would just pray and wish for the day to be over so I could go back home and isolate myself from the cruelty of the world. There was one day in 6th grade that I'll never forget. My sister and I were in the back of the bus, and they were saying horrible things that our 6th graders should never hear. Go back to your country. We don't want you here. Go blow shit up, you terrorist. Why are you in our country? When we were about to get off the bus, one of them hit me directly in the eye with lotion. I felt so weak. My sister was watching the whole thing. Her big brother being able to do nothing. Her big brother, the man she looked up to, getting pushed around, being powerless and weak. I was crying, but I was pleading to God to forgive them. They're children just like me. Please have mercy on me. They don't know better. I went to my classroom, and I was a mess. My teacher asked what happened. You're usually so happy. What's wrong? In tears, I said, nothing, sir. Can we just please get on with the day? I was terrified. Already hated for who I was, and now having the reputation as a snitch, the bullying would increase tenfold. He saw the mark on my face and said, at least I should go to the nurse. I went, and through God and this miracle, I was okay. Without my permission or knowledge, the nurse had called the principal. And this was where God showed his grace again. We had a substitute principal, a woman who had tutored me when I was young. And rather than terrified, I was filled with rage. Why me? Why single me out? What have I done to them? I didn't choose to come here. I didn't choose any of this. I told her everything, since day one, since the bullying started to the lotion. She wanted to call my parents. However, they were not home. And again, it happened. Miracle by God. The only other number I could think of was my mother's tutor. The assistant principal called and told her everything. And everyone, my parents, my mother's tutor, the assistant principal, decided this education was horrible. I needed to go elsewhere. At the end of 6th grade, we decided to apply for UPrep, University Preparatory Charter School for Young Men. As I was failing and receiving D's in the public school because our teacher would not teach, he would sit in his desk and eat Doritos the whole time. I learned absolutely nothing in 6th grade, but I began to do exceptionally well in a more advanced program. I did so well that my parents believed that I belonged in a superior school, a better school, a school such as McQuaid Jesuit. Again, through the help of my parents, my tutor, my mother's tutor, family, friends, and the grace of God, I made it. In the midst of the mess and struggle in Bhutan, the hardship in Nepal, suffering in the first years in America, I would have never imagined to be standing here in front of all of you, telling my story, to laugh at it, to cry, to forgive those that have wronged me and my family, but most importantly, to say thank you. My parents are janitors. They're still struggling in my life, but this education, brotherhood, and bond that I now share and receive here has and always will make learning here worth it. This opportunity that I have received is mind-blowing, and I'll forever be in your debt. Without you, McQuaid would fall. Without you, I have never been able to have the best 3 years of my life that I've had so far. I can speak for everyone when I say we all truly appreciate what you do for our community here. Thank you for letting a poor immigrant who had nothing, who lived off of food stamps, who got bullied, who couldn't even speak English, receive the most important gift a human can receive, the gift of education.